John, can you hear me?
Hi, Eric. Yep, loud and clear.
Hi, John.
Cool.
Hi, Joyce.
Is that you, Eric, where we can't see you?
That's me. So
Oh.
right now I'm joined with like the work computer, which doesn't have a camera. But it'll make it easier for me to like pull up documents and stuff.
Yeah, okay. That's good.
See how it's sharing works.
Hey, John, I have something of yours. And the last two meetings, of course, we didn't have one before, and then I put it in my binder to bring tonight, and then all of a sudden I thought, oh, wait a minute, we're not having a meeting tonight, we're having a virtual meeting. Anyway, somehow I got one of your pay stubs, and I haven't been, from last year,
Oh, gosh.
from a year ago, and it turned up in my stuff when I was going through like all my end of the year, for my taxes. And I said, wait a minute, what's this? I got one for this date. And I said, oh, wait a minute, that's not even my name. So anyway, you probably don't need it now. If you do, I'll send it to you.
No, don't worry. It's a direct deposit, so I think we're all set.
Yes, right.
Good.
It's kind of funny when I found it, though.
Yeah, get out, they get mixed up. Well, there's Pat. Hi, Pat.
Hey, how are ya?
Good.
Hi, Joyce. I'm actually on time today.
You are. You're very on time. You're early.
Yeah.
That's the one benefit of having these meetings online is that it's pretty easy to get here.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's so true.
The annoying thing though is that everybody uses a different software. Like the guys
Yeah.
from Bergman use Blue Jeans. The county was using WebEx earlier. We use Zoom.
Yeah.
Every time, you have to like download a new app on your phone or whatever, or your computer, whatever the case is. You always got to download something new because everybody's got a different program.
Exactly. Well, I think most so that I have other, organizations that I'm on, they're mostly Zoom. I don't think,
Yeah.
oh yeah, no, one is WebEx, that's right. But we used to use WebEx way long time ago, remember?
Yeah. They when I was using it earlier today for the county, it seemed a lot better than it used to be. It used to be like more clunky and whatnot. I don't know if they were like, they very quickly were spurred on to improve their program just by like having competition from Zoom, but it worked a lot better today.
Well, I have had a problem with Zoom a couple of times, and that is that the audio, just like at our CIC meeting, the audio gets kind of garbled. I didn't know if that's me, the system, the whatever. So I don't know how that's going to work for me today, but hopefully it doesn't. We have my daughter here at our house. She's working from home too. And so I noticed that when the last meeting, the CIC, we were both on different, video conferencing at the same time. And I just wondered if it might have overloaded, our internet band somehow.
It definitely does happen.
Does that? Okay. So I told her, I said, don't go on there at 4:30, whatever you do. We'll see if she remembers. I haven't heard from anybody except Edith. She will not be with us. She is now traveling to Kansas today. So
What you doing in Kansas?
she had some kind of a family emergency. She has a lot of family emergencies in Kansas. Too bad it's so far away.
It really can't really like fly now, can you?
No, no, she always drives.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, over the last 30
I think
years,
you can
she's
fly.
probably-
You just have to take precautions, you know. I think
But where
flights are
would you fly
limited.
into the middle of Kansas? You'd have to go to, Kansas City or something like that and fly in there and then get a car and do some more driving.
Yeah.
She lives out in the middle of or her family, she used to live out in the middle of nowhere.
Looks like Justin's coming on.
Oh, good.
Justin, are you on? This is John.
I don't see him on my screen. Is he on yours, Eric?
no, it says he's connecting to the audio.
Oh,
Hello, can everybody hear me okay?
no,
You're
not
pretty
really.
quiet.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Oh, hi, how are you?
Yes. Hi.
Coming in loud and clear.
All right.
We got Gary with us too.
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, hi, Gary.
Hello, hello.
How are ya?
Good, good.
Justin's trying to get on. His audio is a little weak, so he's doing something.
Who is this person who's got the picture that says Town of Canandaigua? Is that Eric?
That's Eric, yeah.
That's me.
Oh,
He
hi,
doesn't have a camera.
Eric.
Oh,
No,
I'm connecting to the work computer so that I can pull everything up a lot faster. And there's no camera on that computer.
Hello,
Kim,
Is that Kim?
Dawn. Hi, Joyce. Yep.
Pretty much everybody's
Hey,
here.
Kim,
Hey, Pat. How's it going?
very good. Not gonna complain. We happen to be busy.
We're waiting for Justin. He tried to get on. He didn't make it, and I will just wait till he tries again.
Yeah, I'm here. I think I have a bad connection because of my internet connection right now.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, I don't have a video either. You're just in a,
Yeah,
Audio?
I have it disabled because I'm using my work computer.
oh, okay. So I guess we're all here? I guess we are, except for Edith. Edith is not joining us tonight. She is on her way to Kansas City. She's driving. So hopefully she'll get there before the snow flies. Okay, so Gary is with us today in his first official meeting. And I don't see his video either, but that's okay. He's there.
I am here.
He's on
You're
here.
there, I see you.
Okay, now we can see you. Well, there's something here with my view thing, though. It's not showing everybody.
You can
You can
arrow
change
over
how
to people
speakers-
too.
Yeah, you can change how speakers show up. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
only when they're talking.
Yeah, I know. I know, but it's not. We'll see here. What? That Cam's there. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, let's get right to our agenda then. Approval of the minutes of March the 5th. That was our last meeting. We had no meeting in April. Were there any additions, corrections, something, edits for the March meeting? Okay, I'll move to approve the March 5th minutes. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Gary, you will have to just to abstain from that vote since you weren't a member in March. Yeah, so Gary's going to abstain. Since he was there, but he wasn't actually an official member, so he couldn't have voted. Okay, report from the development office. Sad to report, Kyle has been furloughed. I don't, Eric, do you have any information regarding Kyle? Is this just a temporary thing? Is it a permanent thing? What are the expectations here for Kyle?
We're operating on it being temporary right now, but obviously it really depends on the financial situation of the town moving forward and how quickly the economy picks up largely. I mean, we all know that sales tax, mortgage tax, and then obviously there's development office fees that make up a large portion of the budget. If those are down, then the town will have to make more serious cuts. That means not bringing people back. That may be the case. Kyle was one of a few furloughs. Between pretty much every office had somebody furloughed. So we will see, I guess, how long it ends up being.
So Eric is going to be our liaison again, as he used to be until Kyle showed up. So anything else, Eric, from the development office? We do have some things that we can get to in the later in the agenda, but if there's anything that particularly from the development office, do we need to know how we can reach you? You're still checking your messages every day if we need to get a hold and.
I'm working from home mainly, but I do come into the office on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You can still reach me the same ways. Email, I can check from home. If you leave a voicemail on my work phone, it goes to my email, and then I can give you a call back. So really nothing's changed for the most part. It's just, working from home is a little less productive, but I'm still able to do everything from home, or I'll do it on Tuesday or Thursday when I'm in the office. Michelle's in here on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Not a ton has changed work-wise with COVID. Permits are just dropped off outside, and we still process them. The planning and zoning process is continuing on the same schedule as it was beforehand. So really everything is the same in that regard. It's just less time to get stuff done. As far as projects go that we're working on, so it seems like, and Joyce, I know that Doug touched on this a little bit, I think, at the CIC meeting. Some of the project teams for this year were kind of cut, or at least delayed anyways, depending on the financial situation. So that's included the conservation easement team, there's the signage and tree committee. All those have been kind of delayed moving forward. The comprehensive plan has also been delayed. It's probable that we'll still be able to complete that this year because we're doing that in-house, but we're holding off on the meetings until we can actually have them in person again, at least for the time being. We may reconsider that, but I know that the town board wants people to be able to have their voice heard and whatnot. And they have a little hesitation with doing that, especially for a big project like the comp plan, doing that through video conferencing. The City of Canandaigua's comprehensive plan should be moving forward soon as far as being improved. I had a meeting earlier today about the study for State Route 364, which is essentially Marvin Sands South. That one's mostly done. There should be a finalized report on the 22nd, I believe they said. Not a ton is within the town of Canandaigua, again, just kind of like from the Gorham border up to Marvin Sands. So it doesn't cover like where the plazas are there or running any further north. Most of it's in the town of Gorham. But there's some good recommendations there. It's about it's a multimodal active transportation plan. The Middle Cheshire Road Corridor study is still going forward, that being GTC funded and wasn't impacted by any budget difficulties. It's already been allocated. We had a meeting last week, I believe, with Bergman online, just to get essentially some feedback from them. They shared with us their draft existing conditions, and then got feedback from the project team to see what sorts of active transportation treatments people would like, whether it's bike lanes on the road or separated bike lanes or shared multi-use paths, stuff like that. And then sort of what kind of amenities in the different areas might be appropriate. It was a good meeting. I don't recall when our next one will be for that. We have a meeting on Tuesday about the Uptown plan. This plan might change based on the budget because this is entirely funded by the town of Canandaigua. But we do still have a meeting on a form-based code on Tuesday. That's pretty much it as far as what's going on in the development office.
Just let you know now, since we're talking about budget, that the ECB budget is not available to us. So we have some programming that we'll talk about in later on our agenda, but just so you know that we don't have one right now. It's on hold, so we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, let's go to the results of the previous applications. If you could just clarify for us, Eric, if there's been anything exceptional going on, because it's already been a couple of months here. We can read through if we need to, or anything exceptional here.
Not really. Lupton was approved. That one unfortunately got delayed a little bit with the different meetings being canceled, but they just recently got approved. They're looking to get started on that. The shut application, that one was approved a little while back. The Summer Haze It was continued at the last zoning board meeting, but I believe they're withdrawing that application. They will, however, be submitting for building a house on that site. So it essentially will go through the same process, but for a different application. This one was just a sketch plan, so there was just a good discussion at the planning board, the Thomas Road Dukowski one. The BTY Holdings must stash at mini storage was approved.
What is it? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, we got the comprehensive plan update.
Yep.
No committees that we can to speak of. We talked a little bit about the Citizens Implementation Committee, and we don't have any referrals from them, but they are active. But right now, they are active. Maybe they won't be as active as they have been before. Okay, so in April, we were referred those 4 CPNs that you see on the agenda there. And if there's anything, and we weren't in session, so they just went on without our comments. There was one from that one, and that CPN 26014, or 20014, that we have now been referred back to us. This is the one on Sandy Beach. So Eric, why don't you go ahead and maybe we'll start with that one. And it's on the agenda, and it's at the bottom of our referrals, but we could go ahead.
Are you able to see it on the screen right now?
I can see it.
Sure.
Okay.
That's a good idea. You can tell us what it's all about and why are we getting it back? It was, they approved it, the planning board approved it, but for some reason they want us to give some feedback to them.
It's certainly unusual. It's the first time I've seen it. I guess they approved it. I guess they were kind of more curious if there were any substantial comments from the board that they could address and include as not quite a condition, but make sure that it's on the plan and addressed before the planning board chair signs off on it.
The planning board hasn't. Oh, the planning board chair, you mean?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
John, is that correct to you?
Yes, and then the Lance will include the ECB comments, if any, on his engineering letter on the final report.
Okay, so we do have, I'm sorry to take you out of the agenda here, but we do have comments regarding this from Sarah Linda and a couple from myself. Maybe you want to, Sarah Linda, just take us through those comments of yours and so that we can kind of understand what this was all about and what we're looking at here.
Okay. This one, I guess I saw this at the PRC meeting in April, was it? Or March anyway, at the PRC meeting before our meeting that was canceled.
Yeah.
And what strikes me about this one more than most is the proposal for the lawn area or the yard area between the house and the lake is to pave the great majority of it. Probably 85% of it is going to end up paved as a hard surface all the way from the house almost to a retaining wall. They have a retaining wall going down to the lake, and there's a small strip behind the retaining wall that's shown as decorative ornamental grasses, I think, and then everything else they refer to as pavers. And the paver, there's the paver patio there, and then the pavers wrap around the house, going to the front door and also going out to Sandy Beach Drive. In the application, initially they refer to them as permeable pavers, but elsewhere on the plans, they refer to them as, they refer to them as permeable. There are a few references or notes to the effect that these pavers will be permeable. On the plans, however, or I can't remember exactly where, but there's another reference to them as being brick pavers.
Yeah.
So my reaction is this is way more paving than you usually see, even in this very dense neighborhood. The zoning board application also says, well, the neighbors have similar things. But if you look on the aerial views, the neighbors, in fact, do not have anything like this amount of paving between their buildings and the lake. There are a couple of them, not even immediate neighbors, but maybe 3 or 4 to the north and 3 or 4 to the south, that have what I would call large patios, but still it's less than 50% of the ground area. So this one is really most of the ground area. So my reaction was, this is really kind of an extreme example of going overboard on impervious material. And I think the ECB should recommend that they look at a permeable paver system, whether it's, I mean, something that's more porous than brick, or something that has wider joints than a typical brick paver, or something that's along the lines of those concrete pavers that actually have little tufts of grass coming up through, you know, there's actually air spaces that go down right through the paver. So, I mean, that would make it, that would increase the amount of infiltration that would go into the soil, rather than running off to the north and going into the lake, which is what, what's going to happen in this plan. The other thing is they don't really have any trees on the lake side, so it seems to me not terribly consistent with the lakeshore guidelines. There is one existing 12-inch diameter tree kind of in the north corner of the lakefront lawn, but it's an ash, which means it's probably going to have to come down within, you know, 5 to 10 years anyway. And there used to be an evergreen tree there. You can see it in the old assessor photos, but it's not there anymore. So it's obviously come down within the last few years. So I think adding some trees and shrubs to a landscape plan would also be desirable in this case, just to soften the appearance from the lake.
Are there any questions regarding the review? Okay, then the recommendation, you want to go ahead and let's see what we think about that. Want to read that?
The recommendation is from Environmental Conservation Board is reduce the size of the patio to provide space for new lawn, trees, and shrubs for compliance with the lakeshore guidelines. Also consider substituting a more pervious type of paver to reduce runoff and encourage infiltration.
Okay, any additions or edits to the recommendation? Okay, then that's the recommendation from the ECB to the from the ECB to back to the planning board. You have all that, John? Anything we need? Anything else we need?
Nope, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Okay, let's go on to the next then, is the Fallbrook 3312 Fallbrook CPN 20022.
I'm just pulling up the stuff that I feel like you guys might be looking for.
Sure.
So let me know if there's anything else that you want to see.
You want to take us through it, Eric, just
Oh.
generally?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm used to the planning board where the applicant describes everything. Excuse me.
You're it.
So,
You're Kyle,
yeah.
you're it.
So there is an existing home on the lot. You can, I'm not sure how big it shows up on your screen.
Yeah.
But essentially it's right up to the property line and kind of runs most of the length of it. They also have a pool back here, patio area, all that good stuff. They are proposing to demolish the existing house, remove the patio and pool mostly. They are going to add some spa right here, which they don't need a variance for, unlike some of the other recent projects, because they already have a pool there. They have some porous pavement driveway on this side. I guess that's kind of it. You know, tear down, rebuild, seen it a million times on Fallbrook. I believe they need one variance for building coverage. A lot of the other kind of non-conforming aspects of it are allowed by zoning because they're reducing the degree of non-conformance.
Okay, any questions from the board for Eric?
What is silt fencing? There was reference to that in description of how they're handling drainage on the property.
Silt fencing, you said?
Silt, yeah, fencing.
You can see it generally, let me see, I believe it's this notation, the kind of black hashing running along there.
Yeah.
It's a soil erosion, I don't want to say technique or method, it's material. And so during construction, you put it up on site. And essentially it's to trap any runoff from running off or from going off the site during construction. It's something of a filtered material where it slows down water from leaving the site slow enough to where the silt and sediment drops out and the water kind of drains through over a long enough time.
Not a permanent fixture or something just during construction.
Yep.
No.
Okay, Sarah Lynn, do you want to run through your recommendations here or your review?
Yeah, I didn't have any comments or suggestions about this one. I thought it seemed like a pretty reasonable approach. I mean, like the rest of Fallbrook Park, it's a dense neighborhood. The house is bigger than, takes up more than half of the site. But the fact that they're eliminating the pool means that even though this is larger than would be permitted under a completely undeveloped situation, what they're proposing is better than what they're taking down. It's a larger house, but when you take the pool away, the whole thing is closer to compliance than the existing. So, and I thought the landscape treatment was quite nice. There's a colored landscape plan, which is separate from this set of drawings that Eric has up, or maybe it's the last sheet of that, but they're relocating. There's one impressive tree on the property, which is a Japanese maple on the driveway side, not on the lake side, and that's going to be relocated. And there's, nice trees and shrubs around, mostly on the lake side, but some on the landscape on the back side. It's got an attached garage, which is a new feature. But anyway, I don't think that, I think as Fallbrook Park goes, this is a relatively eco-friendly treatment.
The only comment I had about this as I was looking at the exploratory app information is that it's a very highly erodible soils. And I just made the comment here that just gives a certain level of, attention to obvious soil erosion that they're going to be having, especially with the taking down, with taking up the pool and all of that. There's going to be a lot of, activity in the disturbance area. So that's the only comment that I would make, is that would be an area that, the engineers would want to particularly look at. And then I read a letter in the file which had to do from a neighbor regarding the construction timing. And it's not that, we're commenting either for or against the construction timing, but it does seem to be a matter of, and this was going, I think it's going to the ZBA too. Is this going to the ZBA, Gary?
Yes, it is for building coverage variance.
Okay, and that the considerations of the neighborhood as far as the construction sequencing and timing would be of concern. And those are the only two kind of comments that I had regarding this application.
Is there any moratorium on lakefront rentals during the COVID crisis? Is that, I know that on the beaches on the Atlantic Ocean, that's an issue, but I didn't know if there's any.
Nothing done at the local level. I don't know if there's anything in any of the governor's executive orders about that. I know hotels are still open, so I'm not sure that they would have done anything with like short-term rentals or whatever.
Rental properties, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, anything else from the board? Okay, let's go on to CPN 20024 at Water's Edge Drive.
Okay. So this is another tear down rebuild. You can see the outline of the existing home here in red on Water's Edge Drive. There's actually this little right of way that runs down here. They are proposing to tear this down. They will be rebuilding a new home up a little bit further from the lake. They need 3 variances. One is for a front setback from Water's Edge Drive, and then I believe also lot and building coverage. Yep, 5% lot coverage variance and 5% building coverage variance, 14.5% lot coverage variance. Let me see, I don't believe they included any type of landscaping plan here. There are some existing trees that are to remain on the site. And then, of course, they're moving it further away from the lake, which is usually a good thing. No permeable pavement on this site, but that is generally this one.
Sarah Linda, your comments?
This seems pretty consistent with the immediately adjacent properties to the north and south, both of which are, I mean, going a few houses either way. There are fewer and fewer of these small houses down close to the lake, although those used to be the typical thing, and more of them set up closer to the drive, the common drive. So my only concern about this would be the variance on building and lot coverage, which I think as a general rule, it would be a good thing for the ECB to recommend denial. Just, you know, this is not like Fallbrook Park and Sandy Beach, where the lots are so small that it's almost impossible to develop any kind of a ordinary house without exceeding the building and lot coverage. In this case, they've got more land to work with. And the other thing,
I will say to that, on that point though, they do have to use the land within like the right of way on Water's Edge Drive. That is calculated within lot coverage. So there's a certain percentage of that they really can't get rid of.
oh, okay, well, that makes sense. I mean, it doesn't look like the house is, you know, bigger than the yard the way the ones over on the other side do. I mean, one thing they could do would be to consider porous pavement for the driveway. That would cut down on the impervious surface. So I think as a general, you know, I don't think this is a particularly bad a case of overbuilding on a lot. But I think as a general rule, it would be a good thing for the ECB to just kind of keep on reiterating that we'd like to discourage people from seeking variances on lot coverage and building coverage, because it's getting to be, it seems like practically everybody just assumes that they can get that variance. And the fact that they keep getting granted makes it even more likely
Right.
every time that the next one will be approved.
Did you get that, John? I know it wasn't in our notes here, but I think it's a good one to include. The only thing that when I went to the exploratory app, that there is bald eagle proximity. You know, that's the side of the lake where the bald eagle is nesting. So I think we just want to make sure that the owners are aware, especially since I think that big tree, isn't that big tree coming down, or is it staying? I can't quite see it very well.
Well, the big,
Yeah, and the other thing is,
but Joyce, on the eagle, the eagle's nest is on Westlake Boulevard, actually, which is about a quarter of a mile south of this. So, I mean, I'm pretty familiar with the eagle.
Yeah.
It's right next door to me, and I don't think there's an eagle's nest in this immediate vicinity.
no, I think not. I think you're right, but I'm just saying that this is what it said in the exploratory information that we got, that there I don't know if we want to call it proximity, but the eagles have been sighted on that side of the lake, you know, in that area. The other thing is that I didn't notice a shoreline guideline statement. Eric, did they present one? I know there's no landscaping plan, so didn't know if they were considering anything in landscaping.
I can't recall if he said he included something in the letter. There it is.
Where is it? Ah. Okay, it was hidden in the other letter.
Yeah.
Okay, so earth tone siding, but we're not talking about any more proposed buffering, visual buffering from the lake.
I think the existing trees in the lakefront lawn are adequate for buffering.
Are they?
Yeah,
Let's see.
there's a big one down there.
Oh yeah, that is pretty big, yeah.
That's a huge tree, and that's going to stay.
Okay, but I'm just surprised that there isn't any more landscaping in the lakeshore area, but we'll let the planning board deal with that. And is the steep slope, because there are some steep slopes in percent of, let's see, what did I see here? They were a 16 to 30% steep slope on the closer to the lakeshore. Would that comply with the steep slope law? We're going to have to consider steep slope law here because of that.
Well, I think those numbers came from Encore, is that correct?
Yeah. Well, they came from the exploratory app, Encore, yeah.
Right. So we had the engineer review that to see if there were in fact steep slopes on there, because obviously he's got an engineered plan, and there was not steep slopes on site.
There weren't, okay. Okay, well, so the recommendation, we don't have any, are we saying? Unless it would be the shoreline guideline statement regarding some additional landscaping.
And the recommendation that they consider permeable pavements in the driveway.
Yeah.
That's right. The pavers, yes. Okay. We'll leave the recommendation at that then. Anything, Pat, anything?
No, I was just thinking lately, most things are getting landscape plans attached, so they're always nice to have.
Yeah, and this one didn't have anything. And I can't
Yeah.
imagine that they wouldn't be doing something actually with around the new house or something, but. Okay, those two then. Let's move into CPN 025, 6161 Grimbo. New home.
It's snowing at my house.
Is
Going.
it? Oh my gosh.
Yuck.
Disgusting.
Well, guess I'm not working in the garden tomorrow.
There was a little bit of, it was a little bit of thunder, and now it's snowing.
Really? They
Oh,
did
dear.
say thunder snow. They did. Wow.
It's really blowing, the wind is blowing hard here.
So here is the existing site. It's a vacant land on Grimble Road.
Mhm.
Kind of interesting. This actually used to be the roadway running here until they
Anywhere?
graded this down. Pretty much this triangle piece was the boundary of the old road.
Really?
So it used to go
Wow.
like this. Yep.
Huh.
Anyways, that's probably why there's such a steep area here that I'm assuming that they used to before they could grade the road down. They were just trying to avoid making less. So that's why now they have issues accessing the site through this grade, which you guys can see here.
A lot of
Just to
grade.
touch on that point, the grade would be 12% shown here. So they did not have to do a steep slope report.
Okay.
Let's see. So there's their access. I know Sarah Linda had a comment about that. Going up and essentially building a new home. There is the setback line there. So they're a little bit further on this side than they really need to be. Not sure exactly why. Septic is over here. Minimal comments from County Soil and Water on the septic design. But otherwise, new single family home, kind of top of a hill.
Okay, my only comment was I thought that there were steep slopes on this as it appeared on Encore, but if the engineers looked at it and determined not, that's fine. Anything, Sarah Linda, that you think is important for us to know about here?
Well, my initial reaction to this was that there's an awful lot of regrading involved in
It looks like it.
coming up the hill from the curb cut to the house. And I wondered why they didn't put the curb cut more or less halfway up the hill the same way the house is, so that they wouldn't have to do all that regrading and
Yeah.
create all that pavement. And I think the answer is that there is a visibility problem at the top of the hill, which would be at the right-hand side there on the screen. That's where these people live now. They live in the house that's immediately to the east of it. And so they know and that's pretty much at the crest of the hill. This property is on the down slope and there's a stream down the bottom.
Yeah.
So I think maybe and I happen to know the people who live across the street, and I asked them about visibility and they said, yes, this is a problem area. When you're pulling out of your driveway, you have a hard time seeing cars coming up the hill because of the profile of the hill.
Mm-hmm.
So they may have decided, let's put the driveway way down at the bottom to have a maximum visibility, be able to see, as much of a distance as possible for when you're trying to pull out into the road. And that's a good reason for putting the driveway down there. On the other hand, I don't know what the recommended highway, distance is for being able to see when you're locating a driveway, distance between the driveway and the crest of a hill. So I don't know if, I mean, you were at the PRC meeting. Was that a subject that was discussed?
You're talking to me, Shirley?
Yeah, the distance that they say here, it has to be, it is 700 on one and 300 in the other direction. So for the site distance, doesn't there have to be, I think it's, what is it, Eric? 200 and something, 220 feet site distance?
I don't know, I'm sorry.
Oh, for like a minimum kind of thing,
Like a
for
minimum,
safety?
yeah, uh-huh, right. But I'm not real sure on that. Could be, I'm thinking of something else. But those are the site distances that they will have if the driveway is there as it's indicated on the site plan. And there wasn't any discussion, I don't think, at the PRC regarding site distance.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, the only comment I had then was about the steep slopes, and those slopes are in the disturbance area. The whole thing is going to be all, disturbed. We're going to have a lot of disturbance there.
Vibrating, yeah.
Yeah, awful lot. And so, of course, it's the to mitigate, soil erosion. I can't. Anyway, that's my. Gary, did you have a question?
This is Justin, sorry.
Oh, Justin, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, just barely.
Yeah,
Slightly.
so I'll try to talk loud, but my question is regarding the drain that's daylighting down slope that's supposedly going to contain all of the runoff from the roof as well as the foundation drain. Is that going to be reinforced? I didn't see anything in there because that'll be a lot of water flying out at a pretty good rate.
Okay. So you have concerns about the drain daylighting here where my mouse is?
Yeah, because if that's all the
Right.
water basically from the property for that little 4-inch drain, I mean, it's going to have a pretty good force when it comes out of that pipe during a good rainfall. So, I mean, I don't know if I want to look into reinforcing it or.
Can you hear all that, Eric? I can't hear
He said,
anything.
I think the last thing he said was he doesn't know if we want to like reinforce it, the outlet, so it doesn't erode away, I'm assuming, to the end.
So it doesn't what?
I'd say it's like erode away over time.
Oh,
There's a lot of water
okay.
going out there.
Yes, all going
I'd
down
say
to
it's a
that
good thing
stream.
to put in the comments, and then MRB will take a look at it. Actually, you know what? MRB won't. So I'll have Chris Jensen look at it.
Okay. So, John, did you get those comments?
Yep, all set concerning the drainage downhill. for
Okay.
the outlet. Yep.
Okay, great. Okay. Anybody else have any comments regarding this? Do we still want to keep in, Sarah Lindy, do you think it's important to keep in the recommendation as you had considered it, about the driveway location to minimize site disturbance as as the traffic safety permits? Is that still knowing what we know now?
Well, I haven't read anything that tells me whether relocating the driveway farther uphill would be safe or not.
Okay,
So,
all right, so we'll
it's-
leave that in and have,
Here's the
and maybe
comments
have,
from Jim Fletcher, which he actually touches on it. Site distance is limited. Does 394
the
meet
hill,
minimum standards
yeah.
in the study? No signs need to be put in. So we may want to look more into that and maybe get some more information from Fletcher.
okay. Okay. That completes our review of the site plans.
no, there's still Island Beach Drive,
Oh, there is, let me see. Wait a minute, why don't I have that?
029.
Oh, that's right. So far down there at the bottom, I didn't even see it.
You guys would have seen this last year. It actually did already go through the planning and zoning process. This is the older one. So this was the one you would have previously seen. There was an existing house here that they tore down, rebuilt. They got variances for it, got planning board approval. I believe they've already torn everything down. They've already built this garage on that western side. But now they want to move this a couple feet north, as shown here, which would give them a bit more space between the property on the south and probably a better view anyways looking south. It doesn't change anything planning and zoning wise. They still like need the same approvals because the existing home that was on the site was, I don't know if I have it here, was non-conforming and right kind of along that property line. They don't need a variance for that distance, but they do, because they changed the plans, need to like reaffirm and get reapproved through the zoning board and planning board these changes. The zoning board always conditions their variances on the plans presented. So because they were changed in this manner, they've got to go through the process again.
Okay, so really no new issues. No comments on this one then? Or do we have comments? Anything?
I think it's a no comment.
Okay, no comments. That was our last one then. Moving right along here to our old business. And the newsletter. Okay, so the newsletter, as far as it was, you know, our newsletter format that we all signed up for, was supposed to have been last month for Pat, and then we ran into a problem with all these cancellations and things and different kinds of things that were going on, and we decided that maybe what we should do is just do something that was a little more less what we had planned before, because we were going to be talking about the United Day of Caring and, you know, some other things that we were going to be getting into. So Pat agreed to do the article for June, and I went ahead and did just a small, you know, an article for May, which included, actually it was staying active during a crisis. And there was a lot of, there's about 4 recommendations for keeping yourself occupied. One was to go out and pick up litter in your own neighborhoods. And I'm sure you've read the article. So, but the only really important aspect of that article was the information about the bats, and we had a bat picture. So hopefully some people are out there at you know, later in the evening watching bats. So for our June newsletter then, Pat that is going to do water conservation. We're going to get into our water conservation information that we thought we would get into. Now, Pat, do you need anything? I have all kinds of water conservation materials here that I would be happy to share with you.
Okay.
And
I haven't thought about it yet. I usually think about things a couple weeks before.
Okay.
But yeah, that would be great. I would appreciate anything you'd like to share.
This is just things that I have been collecting for you know, what I thought we were going to be doing was a great big water, you know, conservation initiative.
Yeah, the mailing and all that.
And we'll talk about that when we get. Yeah, so I'll drop that off to you and make you some copies or whatever and get that off to you, and then we can just go from there and see what. I have no idea what we'll be doing in July. Who knows?
Yeah.
Okay, so, all right, any regarding our newsletter articles? Okay, the Rain Barrel Workshop It's going to be rescheduled to a later date. Soil and Water office is not open. Elena is working from home. Don't have any information from her regarding that later date. We're all just kind of waiting how this whole opening, up the community is going to be, and probably it's not going to happen until after July, but that's just a position. If it doesn't happen, there is that the Soil and Water will refund the money. Okay. So here's another thing with this rain barrel. It was in part of our budget, and we had budgeted $600 for this rain barrel workshop. If it takes place, then we're going to have, because we have committed to Soil and Water, they charge us $300 for the program. And we had also sponsored a $10 discount to anybody who signed up, and their contribution then would have been $20. So we do have a commitment here of some monies, depending upon how many people have signed up. And so far, I think there were 17. So if it's going to be rescheduled, we'll open it up for some more, attendees. But this is all just, we don't know too much about how this is, where it's going to go and what it's going to look like. So I have an idea. We'll talk about a little bit what we could do with it later on if it doesn't work actually at Outhouse Park. But that's where Rain Barrel Workshop is. Cleaning up of the environment and the roadside litter pickup, that's going to be rescheduled at a later date. Sarah Linda's in close contact with the Watershed Association. We are partnering with them, and United Way. And do you have any updates, Sarah Linda, or anything that you want to help us to understand, or any news?
No, I think we heard most recently from the United Way that they plan to reschedule the day of hearing, but they haven't done it yet. So we're just on hold, more or less.
Yeah. And once again, we had a little bit of a budget involvement there because we needed to provide food for anybody who was on the team to do the litter pickup. And so we'll have to see how that goes. Don't have a notion now if we're going to have one or two locations for litter pickup, but we'll work it out whenever we need to. The Water Conservation Initiative with the Canandaigua Water Association, of course, is on hold. We never did really get anything off the ground with that. This is the water conservation was supposed to be, June is supposed to be the beginning of all of that kind of stuff. The water brochure mailing in July with the water bills, well, that's about a $1,500 budget item, and we can just might as well say that's not going to happen. Printing of the brochure and all of those different and the cost of mailing and all of that, we were going to mail it out to everybody in the all residents, and we had about 3,600 residents who would be getting that. So that's not going to happen. That's not even on hold. That's just not possible now, given the directive that we got from Doug a few days ago regarding our budget. The Fossil Walk at Summer Youth for the Summer Youth Program in July, that's also kind of on hold because the town and the city don't have a clue right now if they're going to have a summer program. So, or if they do have it, what it's going to look like. We don't have a budget involvement in that, but we would have to support Edith, because she was going to actually be the presenter, and we were going to be little helpers. So I don't think the city knows what, hasn't been too much in the planning aspect either because of everything closing down. So we'll just have to keep asking those questions as we go along, kind of keep them in front of us, but we don't know when we'll actually do some planning for those. So the update with a student intern from Syracuse University is not happening now. Eric, I never got a report about when you talked with her about, we just canceled it. She's okay with that, or?
Essentially, yeah, she understood. It was
Yeah.
too bad. So.
Yeah. So nobody's nobody goes into the town. She would be, Eric would actually be supervising her, and he's not even in there anymore, except occasionally. And she was actually going to be working actually with Kyle, on that literature library that we were talking about. So that's out. Literature library for this year or whatever is probably out. The astronomy program at Miller Park in the fall, never really moved forward with that anymore, because it's still up in the air about, what kind of programming we actually can do. And so we'll just keep it there, and see what happens in the near future.
Mhm.
Anybody have any questions about our
Our uneventful schedule.
yeah, all of our good ideas, just up in smoke right here. Okay, we do have some things for our in new business, and then we'll talk about this then. Regarding our programming, in June, we've kind of set ourselves a 6-month schedule to review the open space strategies and goals, because, we developed our program this year according to the objectives of the strategies and goals from the comprehensive plan. So obviously, we haven't done anything really, except we've been doing our newsletters, and we've been, doing it that way. But I thought it might be important for us anyway to review next month in June the strategies and goals, to see if we could figure out something that we could do with other media. And this leads me to the next subject here, and that is the Watershed Association is starting to put on webinars for different activities, and one is coming up on May 14th, and it's a webinar regarding lawn care from the perspective of good lawn care in our watershed. And so they've been doing a number of these webinars now for, probably just the last 6 months, maybe or so, I've noticed. And I was wondering why we couldn't do a webinar. We can't have programming to bring people together, but certainly we might be able to do programming like a webinar. And so I wondered if we could talk about that to see if you think it's a good idea, or if we thought it was a good idea. Do we have any topics that we thought? The one thing, when I got the notice from the Watershed Association about this lawn thing, I asked Eric to send it to the planning board, because they're definitely involved in the issue with phosphorus in the lawn care and stuff like that. And Eric also told the board that they could be getting training credits for this webinar. So I have a program from the Arbor Association, the Arbor Foundation, that's about how to protect trees during construction. And it's a very comprehensive, program. And I wondered if we might want to just kind of take a subject and see if we couldn't do something and do some training, just even for our own boards, because there's no training budget anymore either for this year, or for anyway until the fall, to see how things go. So we're going to have to be training ourselves or find opportunities that don't cost anything. So what do you think about webinars? The ECB sponsoring webinars, since we can't sponsor outreach programming in person, we would kind of sponsor outreach programming through, different media.
I think it's a great idea. IMA,
Well, it sounds very good.
yeah, our IMA chapter, we sponsor 2 webinars a year from the chapter and 1 from the council, and they're very successful. We get a lot of people attend them.
Okay, that's why in June, I thought if we could zero in, I'll bring some more, I'll send some information to you regarding this Arbor Day Foundation one. It's a great, it's a really good program, and they have this wonderful handout that I have. But why don't we think about during this month, what kind of program, and take a look at the strategies and goals and see what kind of information we would like to form a webinar around. See what we maybe haven't done yet, or we haven't done it exactly like it. And the other thing is, as far as the rain barrel workshop, I don't know why we couldn't do that as a webinar.
Yeah.
If you just had a camera, and just put it on Elena, and she was showing they could come and get their barrels, and then she could just give a short webinar about when they got them home and everything, about how to do it, and maybe have some other people who didn't get a barrel or whatever do that way. I don't think we have to be hampered by the fact that we can't get together, since online training now is really the thing and probably will be for quite a while. What do you think about that? Should I go ahead and ask Elena, just put that little bug in her ear to see if maybe that's something that we should just talk about to see if it's possible? Would we be interested in doing that? I have no idea what it would take to put together a webinar, quite frankly. Kim, have you put together a webinar before? Do you know if it's time intensive, the planning, the whatever?
You just get the speakers, the burden is on the speaker to put together a slide deck to present. We've always had our global IMA, help us with it in terms of, because usually you have to have like polling questions during the webinar. And that's the way that you acknowledge that someone is actually on and paying attention.
Yeah.
And so the speaker will, whoever's the moderator will ask for them to put together 2 or 3, depending on how long the seminar is or the webinar, polling questions. And then the moderator needs to run that portion of it. And honestly, again, we've relied on council or global to do that for us. So no,
So
I
you haven't done it yourself, but you know what's behind all of it, the planning behind it.
And I've been a speaker, I just haven't done the running of it.
Right, yeah. I know about the questions, and people can, email in or questions or type in questions or whatever it is. Okay, so Eric, this question is for you. Is it possible for us to develop a webinar, a couple of webinars? I don't want to say a series, but who knows? And what that would mean, and what would the ECB have to do in order to do that? And then you could let us know what the online, parameters would be. How do we get the questions and all this kinds of stuff? So that's something you could kind of look up for us, and then kind of let us know if this is going to be a big deal or if it isn't. Or I think I'll go ahead and talk with Lindsay at the Watershed Association, because I think she's doing these, and see, how much it takes to get this thing done.
I'd say that's probably a good first step. I really don't know. I've never done one before. I'm sure that it's possible. I guess I just don't know what kind of program we'd have to use. I don't know.
Yeah.
So we'll look into it. I will say that
if there's a different cost, I don't know if, do you do this through Zoom, or do they have the technology to be able to do it, or don't they, or, all those good questions, Eric.
I will say, though, again, getting back to the finance stuff, although I think it's a good cost-effective idea, I think it's a good idea, we do have less people working in the office, and so it is a bit more difficult anyways right now. So just keep that in mind. I'm not sure what
Yeah.
it would take, but just
Yeah,
so you're aware.
right. Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, we could never get a mailing out. We could never send a brochure, even if we had the money. If there's nobody in the planning office to actually, to participate in that. So, so this might be a way for us, at least maybe this year, that we could do maybe 2 or 3, webinars and still be accomplishing our responsibilities for public outreach, only in a different way.
Have there been other topics which you were thinking about for this coming year?
Well, just the ones that were on our old business that we went through.
Okay.
Those were the ones that we have developed for our projects plan, our 2020 projects plan. But believe me, we're flexible. We can do anything and everything that we, just so long as it's within our, area of responsibility. I don't think we'd have anybody who would object if it's possible for us to do it, technologically.
The fossil walk might be difficult.
The what?
The fossil walk might be difficult.
Yeah, well, that's a summer program at Ononda Park. I don't know if they're going to be opening the Ononda Park this year, the Lakeshore Park. And that's where all the fossils we would be going with the kids, would be down to the lake. And it's, from what I understand, beaches may not be open. I don't know for sure. Okay, so I have another idea here, just as far as some media goes. Can you see this?
Yeah.
This
Maybe.
is the Conservationist insert. I get the Conservationist magazine from the DEC, from the New York State, and this is the kids' version of that. And I'm wondering if we would consider on our webpage having a kids' corner, and then actually reproducing this beautiful, I can tell you, if you want to go to and see this online, it's just gorgeous. It just has so much great information for kids regarding amphibians and snakes. And so they produce one of these every couple of months. I get a Conservationist magazine, and this kids page is always in there. And it's just, I'm always fascinated with it because it has so much information. So what do you think? John, do you think that's possible that we could download this into our webpage?
We can scan it and give it to Sarah Reynolds. She handles the website.
Oh, she does? Okay.
But
All
we
right.
can scan it. I can scan it easily.
Okay.
Are you-
I'll talk to Sarah.
You want to put the image on the website or like a link to it?
We could do either. I was just thinking we could
The
put.
image, it'd be difficult to do the image, I think, with any kind of resolution. We might be able to do it as more like a thumbnail and then add like a link to view it as a full size maybe.
Okay. Shall I talk to Sarah about that?
Yeah, there,
Or
might
is
be,
that
there might be some copyright issues.
Yeah, I'll make those calls to the DEC to see if we actually can do that. Usually the information that I've gotten from them when we've done something like, we haven't done anything like this before, but is just so long as, we attribute where it's from, that's really all they're interested in. So we haven't had any problems with anything else, and we've taken a lot of stuff from the DEC, believe me. Okay, so I'll just look into this, and then maybe, if it's going to be an easy thing for us to put it on, shall we just go ahead and put ECB Kids Corner and start collecting information there, especially through the Kids Conservationist magazine would be a good thing. But there'll be all kinds of things we can do for kids and the environment, and the different species and stuff.
Neat idea.
Okay, one more thing here, and then we're almost done. Under new business, the Ag Committee, through Gary Davis, got a hold of me and said that they were interested, and this was going to be a topic in our last April meeting, so it didn't happen then. But they wanted us to help participate, partner with them in some way. Remember, like last year, how we partnered with them when the Ag Committee had their presentation, or their big thing at the county fair. This is
Yeah.
about the county fair. So I said, well, sure, we'll talk about it at our, April meeting. Well, at their meeting, which was just a couple of days before ours, they decided that they weren't going to move, they were not going to start planning anything because they didn't know for sure if the county fair was actually going to be going on. This is when everything, kind of fell through with the epidemic. So I just wanted to let you know that that's a possibility. It's not until July. It's not until the end of July. So they may be putting together something quick. I don't know. And if they are, I'm sure they're going to say, hey, ECB, do you want to participate? And so that's just to let you know, we may have some, if we want to, we don't have to, information coming in a few weeks or so to see if that's going to be rescheduled to a different day or if it's going to be completely, eliminated. Okay, anybody have any questions regarding anything at all? Has everybody been making it in their confinement? In the pause, has everybody been healthy and happy?
Yep.
Thank you, Pat.
I'm happy and healthy, thank you.
We have no choice.
I'm busy.
We have no choice except to be healthy and happy.
That's right.
Okay, let's moving on with our member reports. The CIC, I think we kind of talked about it. Mainly it was about the budget cuts and the different programs and other boards and committees about how the budget cut would affect what they do. And I think we talked about that. Probably that's all we need to talk about. Local history team. Sarah Linda, is there anything in particular?
The local history team has not met for a couple of months. We were working on an application for the second phase of our historic resources survey, but shortly before it was supposed to go in, Doug decided the town would not apply this year after all, because he didn't want to commit to the local match. So that's on hold, and we're really just continuing with the newsletter, and we've developed a walking tour of Cheshire, which is an online thing that we'll announce probably in the June newsletter. And we have some ideas about documenting the pause, documenting what people are doing during the pandemic.
Oh, how cool.
Jared Simpson is working on that with some of his students as an online project, and some of the history team members are also talking with people and seeing if they can record in various formats what people have to say about the pandemic, and
Wow.
archive it at the Historical Society.
Well, that sounds exciting, actually. Be interesting to see what others are doing. Okay, the Environmental Committee, we did have a meeting. Was it last week? Gosh, I don't know. It probably was. You all receive, or you all got if you have the town, newsletter delivered to your email address, the new recycling brochure. That recycling brochure was to have been sent to everybody. That's not happening now. So we just had on Earth Day, we just had it came out. We publicized it then. So if you don't have your copy, you could always go online to the town's website, and you will see the brochure in the recycling, town transfer station page.
Is there any way to get a hard copy?
Not now. I think I have one. They do have some hard copies up at the town clerk's desk, and they have had a few copies that they just print off, in the office. But there is no plan now to print thousands of these for all of our residents. So whenever the town clerk's office opens again, I'm sure you can get a copy.
They are kind of open now.
Are they?
There is
Good.
somebody in there every day.
Oh, good.
Usually the front door of the office is like closed and locked. Although every now and then I think that the clerk will kind of like walk out and let people in. I'm not
Oh.
exactly sure how it works letting people in because I'm kind of isolated here in my back office. But I'm sure that if you reach out to Jean or Lisa, they can help get a copy over to you.
Okay. That's great. Or you can get it online, and if you have a printer at home, you could print that too.
Is the hard copy anything other than just what you would print by yourself? I mean,
No,
is it a folded thing?
It's what?
Is it folded and on glossy paper and stuff, or is it just what you would print if on your own printer?
Yeah, just what you would print on your own printer. Yeah, we don't have any, except that it would be on the larger paper. The town has a larger paper printer, you know, so it would just be folded instead of individual sheets. Okay, the natural resource inventory. Well, that has been just stopped. That whole process, we're so close. There was supposed to have been Barb Johnston was going to come to the CIC and do a presentation, and then the idea was after the presentation and after the remarks of the CIC would forward it to the town board, and there was a whole process, and we'd hoped that it was going to be approved by June. Well, that's not going to happen now. I have sent a few things to Barb, your comments for one thing, Sarah Linda, and she has not responded. Their office is closed. And so, Eric, unless you know anything more, I think, wasn't La Bella gonna be working on some kind of code? Oh, that was the Conservation Subdivision Design Code. Are they still doing
Right.
that or not?
No, that's being held off because
That's
that
being
would have
held off.
been a expenditure of the town's own money, and so they're just gonna hold
Okay.
off on it.
Okay, so I don't know exactly where La Bella is with the natural resource inventory, and if there's, I don't know what that relationship is anymore because of the funding. I don't know if we owe them money or whatever, or if we're all done now, So anyway, we'll find out, I'm sure. Okay, trainings. If you're interested in that lawn training, that's coming up from the Watershed Association. It's on May the 14th from 1 to 2. And, it's just I'm gonna kind of check it out just to see what they do and talk to Lindsay about it. And that's it. Does anybody have anything else to discuss at all? Okay. I'll move to adjourn. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, everybody have a good month. Keep healthy and safe.
Same to you.
And-
Same to you all.
And we'll just keep in touch through email if there's anything new coming up. And if not, we'll see you Thursday, June 4th at 4:30.
So long.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Aye.
See you again.